Huh.
Hey guys, it's Dane at Jonah Guitars, and I got a brand new build series I'm going to start uploading. It's about this guy right here, the GECKO, and all of the whole process of building will be covered. It's going to be a very complete series. So I hope you join me, and we'll see you there. I have a line on here that I'm going to double check, because it looks like it drifted on me when I was cutting it, scribing it, so I'll double check it with my rule before I actually saw it. And I'm just refreshing the wax on the saw here. I ended up, adding two strips of masking tape to the bottom of the filler board, the sled, in order to get my cut depth where I wanted it. So this is the process. There you go. You can feel when you still got a little bit rubbing in the middle. Of course, is going to be plenty deep anyway because the top of the board's radius. Alright, one more for you. Alright, so that's how it works. Alright, fretboard completely slotted and cut to length. So cut that off at the nut and off at the end of the neck. So the way I do that, just for a quick little thing there, is right, I have the board, have the sled or whatever you want to call it, my height adjustment board here. Well, when I want to cut all the way through the board, I add this 1/4 inch piece of masonite under there, and then I just put the block in, clamp it down, and when I cut, it cuts all the way through because I've raised the board a 1/4 inch with the melamine underneath. Alright, so that's it. That's the Bolivian rosewood fretboard that's going to be going on the, I'm going to go wide here. It's going to go on the 9-string Nighthawk-ish solid body electric. Alright. Okay, hi, I'm back. I believe we last looked at getting the truss rod groove routed in. I've now got the truss rod in the neck blank. I used, a lot of people say use silicone, do a few dots, in the channel, so that the truss rod doesn't rattle, once it's clamped in there. Truss rods probably never really rattle unless they're completely slack, and there should never really be a reason for that. But Instead of using silicone, I used Lexol, which is, let me get that over there, yeah, which is basically an acrylic silicone. Not that it matters in this application, but you can paint this. Don't ever use silicone on something you might want to paint someday. You will be very sorry. Got the fretboard prepped, got center lines on it. Made myself a template to do the little route in the back end of the thing for where the spoke wheel adjuster is at in the truss rod. Also did a little handwork around here just to enlarge this. I think I probably could have gone just a tad narrower, but when you're thinking about the swing, the possible swing on this, you don't want to be banging the fretboard up with the wrench doing the adjustment. So I went for a tad wider rather than narrower. I also clamped it, got all my lines lined up, clamped it, drilled it for pins, locating pins. And I will tell you, I drilled it, I used just a little bit too big a drill bit to use the 18 gauge brads that I typically use. And what I'd normally do there is I just slide them in the hole. Once the glue and everything is on, and then just nip them off so there's enough sticking out that I can pull them back out when it's time to do that. And then in my my clamping block, I have a couple grooves that I've designed into that so that I can still clamp the fretboard down with sufficient coverage and not have to worry about the brad sticking up enough to pull out later. I wouldn't want to have to do anything weird to get that brad out later on. So, but because the holes were slightly too big, I got some bigger finish nails, which I have lots of laying around because lots of nail guns for finish work, things like that I used to do, still do sometimes. Unless I can talk my way out of it. So anyway, I filed these down until they fit the holes nicely in this. So they're very snug. I won't have any wobbling around, so this board won't drift once it's glued down. I took a couple minutes it didn't take a couple minutes. I want to clamp it right down to the top of my workbench so that I have a 3.5 inch piece of 2x4 under the edge of this bench that, backs up the bottom of the neck, and then I have this, which is about 3 inches, might even be that's about 3.5 inches, to sit on top of the fretboard. So I'll sandwich that whole thing in between, fretboard in between all that, and it'll get clamped nice and straight. I run this through the joiner periodically to make sure I have a straight edge here. I haven't carved the neck yet. I have a very flat surface here. So, but I started out down here and it was wobbling a little bit, so I moved it down, and I got just a fraction of a gap in the middle of this board, which means by the time I get it all clamped together, it's not going to be rocking. I haven't carved the neck yet. I've got plenty of truss rod adjustment. It's going to be flat. I'll probably just pull that little bit of dip out of the bench as I clamp it up. I'm not worried about that. Just thought I'd throw it out there for full disclosure. Okay, so I'm going to stick the neck right there. Another, I would normally just put tape over this, and I'll probably run over and get a piece of tape. I might pause the camera for a second. There's a lot of talk about don't get glue on your truss rod and all that. Everybody says put silicone under it to keep it from rattling. So in essence, it's glued in that way. Typically anchor the end and make up for the difference in relief underneath the rod to get all the different heights that were in this truss rod adjuster section here. I put some epoxy in there, and then I pour some down the sides here. So that's all epoxy and locked in right there. Plus this has got a plastic cover on it. I could see with a one-way where you would say don't glue the rod in, because then it won't be able to pull in order, to get that. And any time I've ever used just a one-way truss rod, I've never put it in a straight channel. I always belly the channel so that rod has, has to pull up to pull the belly out of the rod. I'm not in the camera. Okay, if you've got a belly in the rod, when you tighten it, it pulls the rod up. Getting myself out of the camera, so it pulls the rod up, which backs the neck down, which brings the strings closer to the neck, pushes it into a back bow, right? Forces the neck into a back bow. Well, with the double rod, you don't have to do that. I also don't think it's really critical if you were to put glue on top of it, because it's going to bow up or down regardless. So, having said all that, let's glue this thing up. I'm looking over here for my little knife. There it is. Got the fancy glue bottle, but I'm not using it right now. I don't even know where it's at. Must be in the cabinet. The glue bot. I got to put a lot of glue on here, so I'll just use the big bottle. And I've been sanding these surfaces, so I know I have fresh wood with no oxidation. Alright. Okey-doke. Let's see here. I'll clean this up after I get things clamped. I actually put a little tiny bit of relief right here. In case this rod ever had to go in enough to slide up under the truss rod, under the fretboard. So I am just going to take a little bit of that glue off right there. I imagine I'm going to get some squeeze out in that direction anyway, so we'll see what happens. I marked them with a little piece of felt down there so you can tell how deep I'm going. Alright. And I had everything prepared except for the wire cutters. What you chewing on, dog? You chewing on wood? Alright, so we're going to, like I said, cut these off high enough that I can grab them after the fact and pull those out. Alright, so we're basically centered over the 1.5 inch that is underneath the table here. Putting my block on. Like I said, the block is straight on that surface and my fretboard is clamped down. Okay. move these in just a little bit. I don't want to have an excessive amount of clamping pressure right on the very tip. I hang my dustpan underneath the bench right there. That's where all that clanging is. Well, that's about it. So a little bit of debate on whether or not you need to pin your board in place or any glue joint. Well, I see people just fighting with a piece of wood as it slides around and waiting for it to tack up enough not to move after they clamp it. I don't have the patience for that. I'd much rather take a few minutes and get something, figured out so that it's not going to slip around on you when you clamp it. So now it's just clamped, it's straight down. It was really fast. I also chose to use the Type Bond. I think I should mention that. I've been really liking hot hide glue lately, and I was actually planning on using that to do this, but I thought, you know what, I've done over 15 guitars and more necks than that with nothing but Type Bond. I like the idea of the no creep, but I didn't want to be rushed, although you could see it doesn't really take that much time to clamp one down. But I just didn't want to be under the gun with clamping speed. So I decided it hasn't failed me yet. There's no reason to experiment at this point with that glue choice. I definitely, next time I build an acoustic guitar, I'll be using the hide glue in, for all the bracing and probably most of the work on an acoustic. I'm probably going to actually set this neck with hide glue, just for kicks and giggles. So much smaller gluing area, so I should be able to get all that together and clamped up. Plus I'll preheat it. So that's it. I'm going to let this glue actually set up a little bit before I scrape it, because otherwise I'm just going to be smearing it all into the grain on the side of the neck, and I don't want to have to sand all that out of the grain. I won't be staining it, so it's not an issue as far as that goes. It's something you definitely want to consider if you're going to stain wood and you glue it together and then you smear it all back down into the grain, because it's very difficult to get out. And then if you put some stain on it, it can definitely affect the way the stain absorbs into the wood, and it'll change the appearance of your stain from one little spot to the next because of the glue. So it's another factor that I like about hide glue, is that it's just completely, this is water soluble, but you're going to push it down into the grain, and for some reason the hide glue doesn't seem to affect the way anything else happens as far as stain or seal or anything. So yeah, that's it. So the fretboard's glued down, truss rod's in. I like this adjuster on the end. I think this is going to be my standard mode. I've said I've built over 15 of guitars and then other necks besides that. But I like I like this feature. I like the accessibility, and even on the last couple I did, I didn't give myself this kind of accessibility. I definitely have been doing rear adjust for some time. I like the idea of not weakening the headstock, neck to headstock connection there with the big hole for the truss rod adjuster. So there you go. All right, I'll bring you back in later. Okay, so I clamped it up. You saw all the glue squeeze out. I came out about 20 to 25 minutes later, out to the shop here, and took it out of the clamps. Just scraped the squeeze out off of it, and then clamped it back up. And it looked really good. Everything was nice and tight, and so it's been here for gosh, 24 hours since then. It's only 7:30 now. It was probably about 9 when I clamped it up last night. So, oh well, crud's falling over. There we go. All right, so you can see I already had all that glue scraped off, so I don't have any glue up here where the nut was or goes. Didn't have it. I had squeeze out in all these areas. I cleaned it up. So actually, it's pretty clean. Got these little pins that were in here. Just gonna pop those out. My locator pins. I could have taken this tape off beforehand. Actually, I've got a center line in there now. I'm gonna leave that on there. That'll trim. This will trim off too. So then to set the router up, I actually changed the cutter to get a smaller radius when I did the little access here, truss rod spoke wheel access. So I'm going to reset that up, and then I'll go ahead and record trimming the edge off of this, and I'll be back. Okay, it occurred to me that it might be of interest to somebody. Okay, I've got the router unplugged already. Never change your router bit when it's plugged in. But I kind of have this table I made right into my table saw bench. This is about a 6x6 square, and my table saw is right over there from here. Then I have outfeed space, and I won't even show you that because right now it's just got all kinds of tools and debris laying on it. But I was actually, I really like those router bases that you can buy that adjust with the wrench through the top. But kind of working on that premise initially, I have a couple of these actually. I have this one, and I have one just right over here under a mat that I've got set up for where I lay other guitar. So this is a Porter cable. I think it's 690 or something like that. I can never remember the numbers. It's just a standard Porter cable router. They're really bomber good routers. I've got a couple of them, and I've got a couple, 2 or 3 little Makita plunge routers from back when I had cabinet shop. So just put it in the top bearing, 1/2 inch carbide cutter. I don't remember where I got this. Is yellow. It probably came from Grizzly. Not positive. Anyway, so let's see. Just to recap, if you recall, I had the main neck blank, and I had it screwed down, or I had a template screwed down to it, and I basically traced the template with the router right to cut the neck shape. Then I glue the roughly shaped fretboard onto the neck that's already cut to the appropriate size. So now I'm going to use the neck itself as a template, and we'll trim the neck, trim the fretboard to the neck. And so I'm just using the neck here. I don't like to have tons of extra cutter hanging out if not necessary. So I'm adjusting my base up to where the bearing cutter is just above the rosewood on the fretboard. I'll get that all locked in. Okay. So make sure you can see that. It's just basically I just cut a hole through and then I routed back 1/4 inch depth of this piece of melamine covered 1/4 inch hardboard, and just drop that in there. So we'll double check it, and so I've got the bearings going to ride on the edge of on the side of the neck here. Now I've got the end of this neck is actually longer than where my cutoff on my fretboard ended up at, so I'll just sand that off and get, you know, just to get that size exact. But I don't have to worry about running. If the neck was shorter than the fretboard, then I would have to be concerned about running off the end here and clipping the end of the fretboard, but it's not, so I'm in good shape there. All right, I'm going to plug the router in. I got an on-off switch on a power strip. So that's a lot simpler than trying to reach under the bench and access the router and turn it on or off. So I just leave it on, and then, like I said, I unplug it if I'm messing with it, and then turn it on and off at the power strip. I'm going to kick the dust collector on. As you can see, I've got a couple. This is a number 8 plane here. I've got it laying here. It keeps the chips from going all the way across the room there, but I've got the suction on anyway. So now, one thing I do need to kind of check out here is, yeah, going down this way, I'm cutting out of the grain, so I don't have to worry about anything blowing up there. Now, if I go this way, I am going to have to worry about chipping into the grain here, so I'll climb cut this side, which said simply is feeding the material the way the router's cutting, so it's going to be pulling the neck along. So you just have to keep some, you know, pressure down on it so it doesn't just jerk it out of your hands. But it is a little dangerous to climb cut. If you keep pressure down on it, it's going to be fine. The other way, if I cut right into this thing, cutting into that grain, it's going to just pull chunks out, so I'm not going to do that. I'll take my chances fine cutting rather than take my chances ripping it up. So let's make sure I've got the right, yep, got that blast gate open. I still have not decided on what I'm doing for inlay on this thing. I have not decided on a peghead design as of yet either. So I've got a few things I need to deal with here. So I've got, I should catch all this video up and let you guys decide this for me. I've got raw abalone. Grab that. I had a buddy of mine went over to the coast and did some abalone diving, and so, whoops, this abalone shell has become my little catch-all for weird stuff. A little piece of veneer and some, even an air chuck. Anyway, so I actually considered just doing something random with this, almost just smashing part of it and then just leaving some of the natural jagged edges and working that in, just so it's something that's not so man-made looking. That was one idea. The other idea is just to do something traditional, but cut it out myself out of the abalone. The other thing, and in part the reason I'm thinking this is because I just soon not deal with the shell dust and all that, for all the reasons you would think, the main one being the health risk. I like the idea of doing the some kind of marker that comes up this, up the edge, so that it hangs out. You can see here that you may not be able to see that, I actually did some tracing. I don't know if you can see it or not. A little half moon here, like Guild. Is it Guild? Yeah, like Guild does, where you have it on the face and then also showing on the edge, so you take care of your face marker and your side dot marker together. You see, I kind of did a reverse triangle here with the tip cut off of it, and then I did a triangle this way. Also just drawn like full squares in on top. A little crescent moon right there. Just different ideas I've been batting around. Then I got on a website. I wish I could remember the name of the website because it looks really good. They got some really nice looking stuff. And they have all the standard stuff that you would normally buy, that you'd see for inlay, out of all the normal materials. Abalone, white pearl, gold pearl, Paula, am stuff. But I did find they had kind of like their custom ones, and they had a bunch of little geckos, and I thought those were kind of cool looking. So I might end up doing geckos up the fretboard here. I'm not particularly into lizards, but I like the bird inlays, but I don't want to, emulate PRS. I don't have a problem with PRS. It's just that I don't want to give the impression that I'm copying them. It's already a 25-inch scale length, so I don't have a thing for PRSs. Nice guitars, but that's not what I'm trying to accomplish. So anyway, I'm still pondering that, and we'll see what happens. I'm sorry for rambling.